Hello, everyone. My name is Jaquise Moore. I am the host of Learning with Jasmine, and it's so good to be back, you guys. For those who do not know, I am a mother of, I'm a mother of a child who has autism, and I started this group on Page because I was very stressed. I was stressful, the pandemic and everything that's going on. I'm like, oh my goodness, like what? How am I going to release the tension and what I have to do as far as, raising a child, but also raising a child who has autism when she was in a program. So I didn't really know what to do. And so I wanted to come on here and basically have uh, a place that we can come together and be educated and supporting each other, collaborating with each other. And so it has definitely helped my stress level. I have learned so much with professionals and expertise in any other uh, topics, not even just autism. So this is very helpful. Today, well, starting this month, we will be talking about community support. Now, we live in so many areas, various areas, and so this panel discussion for September, I want you all to think about some key words that you might hear and that can actually support you all with uh, opening up a program or just looking into something that is already established in your community. So again, this is just a community support system. And so we have a special guest right here. I have known this person for a long time. And we're going to dive into, he's going to introduce himself and his profession, and we're going to start with our questions. So please introduce yourself.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Darnell Thomas. I am by trade, profession, a behavioral consultant, and I consult for many different organizations, basically people with intellectual and developmental disabilities, group home setting, hospital setting, school setting, and even church setting. When people have programs in the church, churches in the community, also consult with them on different issues. So I've been doing this for over 30 years. I'm married. I have 3 grown children, and I am a person that loves the community, and I try to contribute in ways that most people probably could do if they just were to take time to think outside the box.
Okay, all right. So thinking outside the box, that's a key word, thinking outside. What does that mean before we get started? Thinking outside the box. How would you support individuals when you say thinking outside the box?
Well, everyone has a story. And if I don't know your story, I might be missing out on that glory. If I don't know what you've gone through, then maybe I cannot adjust my mind to wrap around what you might need from me, or why do we have to meet? Because I tell my students, and I've had over 60,000 students in my 30-year career as a instructor. I tell my students, with the amount of people that's on the face of the earth, over billions of people, we had to meet in a classroom setting for a specific reason. We either gonna bring something to each other or we're gonna take something away from each other. People come into our lives for seasons, reasons, lessons, and blessings. So if I don't meet you, if I don't take that small amount of time to meet and greet you, I'm missing something that was intended for me or was intended for you.
Wow, you guys, that's deep. That is definitely deep. Okay, I told you all. This is good. This is good. Okay, so we're gonna get started with our. What are you doing in the community now? You just talked about your profession, but personal. What are you doing in the community, or what have you done in the community?
Okay, a few years ago, a church member, I'm a local elder at my church, a church member came to me and told me about a situation that was happening with a person she knew. And I said, well, what is happening with this person? She said that her son was being physically and verbally and possibly sexually abused by his father. I said, well, I'm a mandatory reporter, so I got to report this. No, he'll get in trouble. So that's what I want him to do. I want her to get in trouble too. So, make a long story short, I confronted the mother, talked to her, and I called the police, and she was terrified. So, just by fate, our church had just started a community self-defense program that stemmed from a program in our national church called End It Now. So what we brought women into the church and we taught them about self-preservation, about how to use martial arts and how to go about healthy living. And so we started this program that women will actually come in. So until the pandemic struck, I had started teaching a self-defense class that was not only for women, but also for men that felt the need to know how to defend themselves in a non-lethal way. I teach two forms of martial art. One is lethal and one is non-lethal. So the non-lethal, I catered that for teachers and social workers, people that don't want to take a personal life, but want to preserve their own life. So I teach a lot of self-defense in the community. I also have been a guest speaker at the Boys and Girls Club down in Washington, D.C. And I talk to these young people and I envision their lives at my age. And sometimes sitting down, just hearing their struggles, it takes me back, but I try to ensure them that I've been there. Sometimes old people, and I'm old, sometimes old people forget their own struggles. So I can empathize, I can put myself there because I wasn't always an ordained elder. I do have a past. I've told my children that daddy had a past. I've told them my past because I'm not ashamed of where I'm from. And it's not who you are, it's where you're from. So when I look at my past, I'm able to relate because I know sometimes older people don't like to give of themselves to let younger people know that there is hope. They want them to change their ways, but they don't give them an alternative. How do I change my way? I don't have a job. So you say I need to do this. How did I get a job? So I try to give people information about jobs. I have helped many of people coming out of prisons transition back into society based on the fact that I know it would be hard and difficult for them to find employment, but I help them create employment, thinking outside the box. What do you do well? One guy told me in Nashville, Tennessee, I was doing a program in Nashville. He said, I sell drugs real good, Mr. Thomas. And he said it jokingly, and everyone in the class was laughing. I said, wow, if you sell drugs real good, I said, then you could be a great salesperson. And he didn't really catch the flow. So after class, I told him, why not sell? Why not go into sales? Mr. Thomas, I never sold anything. You just told me you sold drugs. Now he's thinking outside about, well, I did sell drugs. So how can I sell? So first we try to get your security clearance, and then we find something for you to sell. The young man eventually got a job selling automobiles, and he became like
Wow.
a prolific car salesman because now he's thinking outside the box. If you can sell drugs, you can sell cars. It's just that simple. If you can sell anything, you can sell anything else, but you need to know the product. So he got a job at a car dealership that he worked. I don't know if he's still there or not. I haven't seen this guy in about 20 something years, but I do know he eventually got a job at a car dealership selling cars after life of selling drugs.
Wow. You guys, so there's hope. There's hope. There's there and not just that story, but just making sure, like you said, thinking outside the box. Something, it's like a stepping stone, like or steps. We're going higher and higher and higher, and that's what it basically is. And so when we think about community support, Mr. Thomas,
Mhm.
what does that look like? What does that can we kind of get a definition of what does that look like for maybe a professional standpoint and also an individual? Like what does that look like if someone is like, okay, listening, like, okay, what does this have to do with me, or what can I learn from this?
I think the biggest problem that we have in society, and this goes across all spectrum of society, is three words. And these three words are key. So if your listeners are, if you the people that's watching this presentation could understand communication, collaboration, and cooperation. Those are three of the most powerful words I can ever envision. If you communicate, see, one thing that we don't do enough of with other people is communicate opportunities. There are opportunities, there are jobs out there are opportunities out there, but we don't communicate that because if it don't affect our life, then it don't mean anything. But in order to make our community stronger, people living in our communities must be empowered through knowledge and information. That is communication. And then in collaboration, maybe you know how to do a resume, and maybe a little Bobby down the street don't know how to do a resume, but what is he doing? He's looking for a job. That they're gonna ask him, what do you have a resume? But maybe had you been communicating to people that you've met in your community, maybe there was a person there that knew how to do resumes. So now you collaborate with little Bobby. This I can help you do your resume. And then, Bobby, I heard that they were hiring over here. So now you got communication, collaboration, and cooperation. But if we don't take time to meet people and to meet them where they are, everyone is going through struggles. You can stay in a big, fine house, but there's something going on in your life that you're going to need some attention to eventually. So I just try to tell people in the community, if we work more from the perspective of what can I offer and what can I receive. And a lot of times I see people, young people, especially, I engage young people. The reason I engage young people is because, for the most part, a lot of adults my age, some kind of way, fear younger people based on their appearance. And I don't care what you look like, you still made by God. Unless you're a vicious beast or something to that effect, I might fear you, but I'm not going to fear you because you are a human being. And I think if I meet you, I met these kids the other day out here on the sidewalk, and I just had to, the Holy Spirit said, communicate something to them. It was about 4 or 5 young men. I said, excuse me, fellows. Yes. I said, what you're doing is not illegal, I don't think. What are we doing? I said, well, congregating out here in front of the pool house might not be illegal. I said, but what you're leaving behind will bring attention to what you're doing. What do you mean? That's all this trash. There's a trash can on the side of this building. I said, if I were you, I said, I'm not telling you what to do because I don't have that authority. I said, but if I were you, I probably would try to keep the place tidy, a little clean, so that it would not draw attention to the situation. So one young man probably had, been approached by people before. He's right. He started picking up the trash and the debris. 2 weeks later, I see about 4 or 5 police cars had surrounded the building. And guess who they were taking out? The same 5 young men. Looked like there may have been another one. And I asked, well, what's going on? Just this miscellaneous thing, possession, drug, alcohol. And they were all arrested. But see, I fought myself because I had put the lure, but I didn't engage them. I didn't sit down. I didn't go back and talk to them again. Because I think had I been able to keep connected with them, I may have been able to change that outcome. I don't know what exactly going to happen to them, but I know when I approached them that time, they were amenable. They didn't curse me out. They didn't say, get out of our face, anything. They were very amenable. They cleaned up the spot. But see, had I kept engaging them to see why they're there and do they have anything else that they could be doing, like employment or school or whatever the case may be. So I fought myself. That's sometimes the community engagement that we don't have. We don't engage. We don't give information. We want kids to behave and do the right thing, but they're coming out of homes and situations that a lot of us did not come out of. And that's the sad irony of it. We don't know what hurt they're going through.
Hmm. Wow, that's deep. I felt that, you guys. Okay, so name ways others can get involved in their community.
If you have a hobby, something that you enjoy doing, because this is what I do when I tell young people about entrepreneurship. what would you do, or what do you currently do that you would do it even if you were not paid to do it? And some people might say, I like to sing. Well, why not invite other people, let's start a community glee club, or let's start a community sewing club, let's start a community softball team. If you can engage young people where they are, what they want to be, then they will participate. And if you can get the young people at an early age to buy into it, I know this from raising 3 children, the adults must follow. A lot of times, young children lure their parents into things. I coached elementary basketball because my daughters wanted to play basketball. I coached baseball because my son wanted to play baseball. So sometimes, if we can get the children involved, we can get the parents involved, and then we can converse and get to know each other. Mm. I know every neighbor in my court. I've been living here, granted, for 24 years. I know every neighbor in my court. I know them by name. I know who's in their house. They know me by name and they know who's in our house. So sometimes community involvement meaning get to know your community, because if you know your community, it builds a stronger community. We look out for each other in Fenwick Court. We really look out for each other. We know each other. We know cars, when strange cars appear, when strange people appear. Once we had a run-in with some guys from another part of town that would come out and they would steal things in our community. I met with the men in the community, and we went out and we stood in front of our houses every evening just to, sometimes we just standing there. We wouldn't even converse, but we wanted to show of force that we have men in this community, and we are not going to tolerate you coming into our community. Those guys did not come back because they had a show of force. When there are snow days, when we have blizzards, the men would go out and we would clean everyone's house, and the women would make hot chocolate and different kind of desserts to bring out to us. That's the community we built here. Now, when I first moved here, it was not like that. But what I wanted to do was get to know my community, get to know my neighbors, and this is very cross section of society, very diverse community. Mm-hmm. So we got to know each other, and we have built a very strong and a very reliable community, because when we go out of town, there's someone watching our house. I have keys to 3 of my neighbors' homes. Think about that. I have the key to 3 of my neighbors' homes. So I can go in 3 of my neighbors' home because I have their keys in my house. So that's what we need to get back into, trying to be more community oriented. Find out what are the resources in your community. Who knows what? Who's in your community that could give you an opportunity to do something? Who could you give an opportunity? I have gotten people jobs in my community because of the work that I do. Many times people at HR directors, Mr. Thomas, do you know someone looking for a job? I've already talked to the people in the community. I know this lady here. Yes, I know someone looking for a job. And sometimes they were hired just word of mouth, just because I said that I thought this person was a good person. So community means, what can I do? What do I have? Or how do I advertise it to my neighbors? What do you do? Does anyone know what you do? Probably not. If you don't talk to them, they don't. But you got to find a way to meet your neighbors and share your information, share your resources. That builds a strong neighborhood, and also it builds a situation where you feel safe. Mm-hmm. I had a neighbor who used to stay across the street. He said when he did not see my truck for a few days, he figured I was out of town, and he was terrified because he didn't know what's going to happen to the community if that man went here to protect us. But he was an older gentleman, but he just he saw me in the light of being a protector in the community. But that's because I got a chance to know him. And now with this dog, we have a little dog living with us. I have met so many other people in the neighborhood just because of having a pet. So if you got a pet, you should know your neighbors, because you might walk your pets at the same time. Get to know your neighbors. Get to find out who's doing what in your neighborhood. And I promise you, it will build a stronger neighborhood.
Wow, you guys, I told you. And I actually talked to Brother Thomas earlier, and I said, when I thought about this topic, I literally thought about him first. I told you guys it was going to be good. All right. So anything else would you like to say about, can you give us an encouraging words before we leave?
Well, I don't know how many parents are on the line, and I don't know what your situation is with your children. But as a behavior consultant, I'm going to leave you with a word. And this word, I want you to take this word, write it down if you have any way to write it down. And I want you to go back and I want you to read this word every time there is a problematic situation pertaining to your child. The word is just a simple word, SEAT. If you write SEAT, that's an acronym. But under the S, I want you to write senses because we have 5 senses, right?
Hmm.
And anything pertaining to a problematic behavior of a child or even of an adult stems from their senses. Something they saw, something they smell, could be taste, it could be touch, it could be anything pertaining to your senses. All right. The next will be E, escape. In life, people find ways to get out of situations that they don't want to be in. It could be a historical perspective, it could be PTSD, but they try to find a way to get away from something that they don't want. So they do things to escape. So that's SEA. Many things that we do and many things that children would do, they do it for attention. Any attention is better than no attention. If I throw myself on the floor and my parent don't look at me, then that's not good enough. I got to find a way. Now, if I hit my head on the floor and it's don't hit your head, I got what I had intended, which was attention. So that's SEA. And then T, tangible. Tangible things could be things that I receive when I do what I do. We have a dog. Milo is a prime example. Milo would do anything for a treat. You ask him to shake, he shakes. You ask him to lie down, he lie down. You ask him to sit. Whatever you ask him to do, and he sit patiently because he know once you go in your pocket and give him that treat, it's like the best thing. I need to taste it to see what it tastes like because it's like the best thing in the world. But see, now I know when I need him to do something, when he walks in the community and he don't try to make any attempt to go anywhere near anyone else, he just walk in a straight line. When we get back, I tell him what he did and I appreciate what he did, and he gets a treat. He looks forward to that. Sometimes Milo, people are calling his name. Milo, I ain't getting no trouble. He just keep focused. So just keep that word in your mind, SEAT, seat, sensory, escape, attention, and tangible. If you can just hone in on that word every time your child has a problematic situation, I promise you, you would know the reason. We call this in layman's term, we call what I'm saying antecedents. What
Yes.
trick what triggers this behavior. And if you can spell that word seat, you'll be far ahead of the game.
Yes, and you guys, for those who would like to have a picture of that, that's actually on my page already. So you can go on Learning with Jasmine photos and you will have like various ways of explaining that. But that's definitely a good I have actually recognized Jasmine's um behavior of what is it all about, and so that actually has helped me tremendously in trying to redirect her into a much positive behavior. All right, so you guys, I told you guys this will be awesome. Thank you, Brother Thomas, for your time and your words. I hope you guys have really thought about some keywords that you can actually either look up in your community or start your own community support to for others. Okay. So actually, we have another one tomorrow, you guys, and this person right here is actually going to be talking about her program that she has been doing for so many years, and we'll be talking about supporting families and children. I can't really tell you that much because you guys, you just have to tune in. You know that. You have to just have to tune in. So until next time, you guys, have a great and awesome day. Thank you, Brother Thomas.
All right. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.